what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the Anta Kai 2 Speed. So I actually got this from Kickzone, so if you guys do want to call, I'll try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But yeah, on Kickzone, it's retailing for $200, which is absolutely insane. But this shoe isn't out yet, and they do have a good amount of colorways on Kickzone. So I feel like once they actually officially release the shoe, it might go down in price. I don't know, but yeah. This is obviously the speed version for Kyrie Irving's kind of like signature shoe line. So he has the Kai 1, Kai 2, which is like his signature shoe, which is what he wears all the time. But then we had the Kai 1 speed and then the Kai 2 speed. You know what I mean? So this is a little bit more for, I mean, the Kai 1 speed was a little bit lower to the ground, but in terms of like how it feels on foot, it is a little bit lighter as well, but didn't feel like super speedy. You know what I mean? But with the Kai 2 speed, it looks and also feels a little bit more built for speed, especially with kind of like the design of the midsole. It's not protruding out as much. So anyways, let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. And this colorway is the Butterfly Waltz colorway. It has a pretty much fully translucent rubber. And then here in the middle of the outsole, we have a herringbone traction, but like very, very thick herringbone tracking pattern. And then going around that, we have like a line with this purple, like solid purple rubber. And then around that, we have some more kind of like designs as well, you know? So how does the traction feel? The traction feels freaking amazing. Like right when I got this shoe, I put it on foot, tried it on my wood floors, has an amazing bite, right? Also, extremely loud squeak, which I do like as well, which is very reminiscent of the Kai 1 Speed. The Kai 1 Speed also had a very loud squeak. The Kai 2 seems even louder and even more high pitched, you know, very, very squeaky shoe, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but if you like to have a nice squeak, this shoe is very, very squeaky, right? But one thing that kind of does suck is like I was, you know, walking around like pretty much all day in this shoe in my apartment, of course. Now, I don't know what it is, but you know, my dogs are shedding a lot right now. And there's a lot of dog hair, there's a lot of dust, like always. You know, I say that in all the videos, but it was picking up a lot of dust. I don't know if you guys can see. Yes, it's translucent and it's kind of hard to see, but there is a good amount of dust and dog hair stuck on there. You know what I mean? And with that, it started to slide out a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me of, you know, like the Jordan 31, where it's a little bit more of a dangerous slide out, you know, if I let dust build up on it. So again, we'll have to see. My actual floors, my apartment floors are a different finish. It's a different, you know, type of material than the actual basketball court. But just from my first impressions, it seems to be a little bit dangerous and seems to be picking up a little bit of dust. So that kind of sucks, you know what I mean? And as far as the durability goes, however, it seems really freaking good. The rubber is, again, like I said, really thick and really hard. And also the grooves are deep as well. So you should be fine on outdoor court. You're gonna be good to go. It has a very, very nice, it feels like it has very nice durability for outdoor use. So there is the traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition. Overall, it does feel pretty smooth. It's actually not as stiff and clunky as I thought here in the heel, because look at all this freaking cage. You know what I mean? Look at all this cage, you know? So you can see the rubber, you can see a little bit of the plastic as well. And that's pretty much the entire lateral side of the shoe, as well as a little bit here in the back of the shoe. But on the medial side, they are exposing the actual foam, right? So yeah, there is a little bit of compression, although it's definitely not as much as the Kai 1 Speed. The Kai 2 definitely has a little bit more of a stiffer, more responsive feel, but it's still like not clunky at all, right? Also, we have a nice curve shape, which does help with that. And then coming here into the forefoot, we do also have a nice curve shape. Also, we do have a nice bit of flex here in the forefoot as well, and it's pretty easy to flex. You know what I mean? It's not super easy like the Sabrina 2, 3. You know what I mean? But still pretty dang easy to flex, especially even just with one finger. So it has a very nice flexible feel here in the forefoot. Not super explosive, not super springy feeling really at all. Also, there is a top-loaded nylon midfoot chain plate. You know, it's X-shaped, so it has actually pretty good torsional support. Not super stiff, but I would say it's a lot better than a lot of other shoes out right now. Like the Jaw 2, the Jaw 2 wasn't the best. Like the Sabrina 2, Sabrina 3, Luka 4s, they're a lot more flexible, you know what I mean? So overall, the Kai 2 Speed has a nice, smooth heel-to-toe transition. Not super explosive feeling, it's more just flexible, right? So there's that. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So they actually made it really built for speed, right? So I would say it has a little bit better core feel than the Kai 1 Speed. So here in the forefoot, the Kai 1 Speed had really good core feel, right? So I would say it's on par with the Kai 2 Speed. So very, very similar core feel here in the forefoot. However, in the heel, the Kai 2 Speed is a little bit lower to the ground, right? The Kai 1 Speed, a little bit higher up off the ground. There's a little bit more of a higher offset. The Kai 2 Speed, a little bit flatter of an offset, and the heel cushion is a little bit less, right? So that helps make it feel a little bit more like it's built for speed, a little bit more for guards, obviously, especially since you don't have all this midsole. You know what I mean? The Kai 1 Speed had all this here. You know what I mean? So it felt a little bit bulky. Not bulky, like in the sense like it's bad, just feels a little bit bulkier here in this shoe compared to this shoe, right? So yeah, I apologize if the tech is wrong. You know what I mean? Like I checked on Kickzone, it's not available on Anta.com either. So I checked some like Chinese websites, and I did get a couple of websites saying different things, but they did say, you know, the actual midsole is A-Shock Pro Foam, right? So A-Shock Pro Foam, we've seen that in the Zap 3, and we also saw that in the Shockwave 7. I don't know what it is with Anta. I guess they're moving away from N2 foam. Why? I don't know, but yeah, apparently this is full-length A-Shock Pro Foam. It doesn't really say anything as far as like, you know, it doesn't say it's A-Shock Pro or anything like that. So it might be wrong. So I apologize for that. But I'll tell you guys how it feels, and it feels pretty nice. So A-Shock Pro Foam is really soft, right? And with the Shockwave 7 and also a little bit with the Zap 3, it was a little bit too soft to the point where like the impact protection on hard impacts wasn't the best. So when I was landing, my foot would bottom out the foam and the cushion, and then my foot would also hit the ground because it's just a little bit too soft. So I feel like with what they did here in the Kai 2 Speed, this is a little bit more of like a carrier. You know what I mean? Because it's definitely not as soft as like the Shockwave 7 and Zap 3, like when I feel it. So yeah, because of that, I feel like that's a good thing because, you know, it's not going to be as soft and you have a little bit better impact protection. But again, I haven't played in these yet, but I was jumping around a little bit in it and it felt like it wasn't as soft, which I would say is a bad thing because, you know, step in comfort and underfoot cushion doesn't feel as nice as like Shockwave 7 and the Zap 3, but I feel like the overall impact protection is going to be a little bit better. You know what I mean? So yeah, it has amazing core feel. I would say it's on par with like the Jaw 2. You know, I tried these two shoes on at the same time as well, and pretty much the exact same core feel. Very, very good core feel. One of the best that you can get. So really low to the ground. Underfoot cushion still is pretty nice though. You know what I mean? So as far as the insole goes, the insole is also pretty dang nice. In this colorway, it's black, but it's not super foamy, but it is kind of thick. So it adds a little bit to the step and comfort. And then underneath that, you can see they're using a very like traditional strobe board. It is pretty dang glued down as well. And also in the midfoot, you can see the actual top loaded plate. You know what I mean? So where the plate is, obviously it's a little bit stiff, but in the heel and then the forefoot, it's a little bit softer. You know what I mean? Again, like I said, like the underfoot cushion is kind of soft, but it's a little bit stiffer than, you know, like the Zap 3, Shockwave 7, also the Kai 1 Speed. But this shoe is broken in, so we'll have to see on how the Kai 2 Speed breaks in. But as far as like right now, it's a little bit stiffer, but again, I would say it's a little bit softer than a lot of other shoes out right now. You know what I mean? So it still has a pretty nice soft underfoot feel, but because of how low to the ground you are and also the stiffer strobe board, it's not super duper soft. And I feel like that's a good thing. If you want more of a speedy feel, if you want more of a responsive feel, you don't want a really soft feel. So I feel like that makes sense. And also with them taking away the actual midsole, the chunky midsole, here in the Kai 1 Speed, makes it feel a little bit less bulky, a little bit more streamlined. So I feel like this cushioning setup is a little bit better, obviously for guards who want a more responsive setup, which makes way more sense than the Kai 2. The Kai 2 is really soft. There's a lot of compression here in the heel. Like it's very, very soft. You know, the core feel also isn't as good here in the Kai 2, but has way better underfoot cushion, softer as well, and probably will have better impact protection. So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So as far as the upper material goes, they say it's like a mono mesh material, but it's really thin, right? You can see these open panels, and where those open panels are, it's really, really thin. It gives extremely easily, but then where the white parts are, you know, there are underlaying materials as well. It definitely does get a little bit stiffer, but it's still like overall a really thin, minimal feeling material. You know what I mean? So look at that. It gives very easily. It still feels kind of supportive though, because it doesn't really stretch out too much, and also conforms to my foot extremely well too. You know, so it's a really comfortable material in that way, where it's like really soft, but it still feels like it'll have adequate support, right? And obviously the most striking feature about the overall shoe is the Kyrie Irving shield logo. right? The new Anta Kyrie logo is literally on the entire upper. The middle of the logo is separated by the tongue, obviously, but here on the lateral medial side, you can see the Kyrie Irving logo. It's kind of like this really thin plastic material, and it kind of goes right underneath the eyelid. So it stiffens up the midfoot just a tiny bit, adding for a little bit more support in this area. And then for the tongue, underneath the tongue, we have a pretty kind of like cheap feeling open mesh material, right? But it does have very good airflow though. Through the tongue and also through the mono mesh material, there's very good ventilation. And then another thing that I really like about the tongue is on top of the tongue, it's really thick. It has a very nice plush feel on top of my foot, which is very, very nice. They do that a lot in Kyrie shoes. You know what I mean? The Kai 1 speed, the Kai 1. The Kai 2 isn't as thick, but it's still kind of cozy. But for the Kai 2 speed, I don't know why they added so much padding, because it's supposed to be like a lightweight, responsive feel, but it feels really nice and comfortable. I'm not complaining about it, but you know, I feel like if I was designing like a speedy shoe, I wouldn't put as much padding. But again, I really like it though, you know? And also it's a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And also underneath the material here in the midfoot, you can see another kind of like really thin black mesh material, right? And then also in the ankle area, we do have Achilles pads, right? So I guess ankle pads, you know? So yeah, we got 4 pads here in total in the ankle area, and it's not super amazing. It's not like a memory foam like the Kai 1 Speed and also like the Kai 1, but they did add a little bit more padding. So it's actually pretty thick and it's targeted, so it does actually improve the heel lockdown and feel very cozy and comfortable. So in the back of the shoe right here, it feels really comfortable and cozy. And then here in the forefoot and a little bit more in the midfoot area, like on the sides, is a lot more minimal. So I actually really like how that feels, you know what I mean? And obviously with this type of padding, it also doesn't make it feel too bulky compared to like having something like this with like, you know, the midsole and stuff like that protruding out. So yeah, as far as the upper quality goes, I feel like it's okay. I mean, for the $200 price tag from Kickstone, that's kind of crazy. But you know, I feel like this will probably retail for like 120, 130 bucks. So if that's the case, I feel like, you know, it's not bad, but I am a little bit worried about the durability, because especially with the open panels, it doesn't seem like it'll last a long time, especially if you're playing on outdoor courts. So and also here in the ankle area, we do have this kind of like synthetic material, but there is a little bit of a pattern on it, and it is, you know, taking the pattern from the actual like outside of the outsole here, like the perimeter of the outsole, which I think is pretty cool. And then here in the back of the shoe, we have the Kyrie Irving logo as well. So there is the material there. Moving on to the fit. So I went shoe to size, and this shoe fits me a little bit long, just a tiny bit long. But for me, it's not a huge deal right now, because here in the toe box is a little bit more of a snug. It's not super snug though. You know what I mean? Like this material, it kind of goes over my foot, my toes a little bit, right? But there is just a tiny bit of space. But with this mono mesh material, it's like a little bit soft, a little bit more forgiving. So I can definitely curl my toes up just a tiny bit. You know what I mean? So it's a very different feel from like, you know, the Kai 2, like the Jordan 40. In the Kai 2 speed, it's a little bit more soft. You know what I mean? So I feel like I should have gone down half the size, because again, length is a little bit long, and I feel like once I break it in, it's gonna get a little bit roomier here in the toe box. But again, we'll have to see on how it breaks in, and also wait for the full performance review. But right now, I feel like going true to size is fine. You know what I mean? But again, a little bit long. As far as the width goes, it's normal width. You know what I mean? There is a little bit of space for my pinky toe as well. So yeah. Overall, it kind of sucks, because I like to have a really snug fit in my hoop shoes when I'm hooping, but right now it's not bad, right? So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. I mean, yeah, it's a Kyrie shoe, and Kyrie's doing a lot of crazy crossovers, a lot of crazy lateral movements. He needs a lot of lateral support, and this shoe, it seems like he has really good lateral support, right? So here in the forefoot, we have this cage. You know, it's a plastic cage. It comes up here in the forefoot. You know, you can see just how much it comes up, and here in the midfoot as well. And then also the same cage comes up here in the heel, and there is an internal TPU here, kind of like a really stiff material here. So lateral containment, my foot doesn't feel like it's gonna come out of the footbed at all. Also, we do have a pretty wide base. You can see that, I mean, first of all, you're very low to the ground, but it's not like a crazy outrigger, but it is a wide base, you know what I mean? So that feels good as well. And also the heel lockdown feels really good because of the Achilles pad. So yeah, support and lockdown feels really nice. The only thing is that the upper isn't the most supportive feeling material, you know what I mean? Especially comparing it to, I don't know, like the Jordan 40 or even like the Kai 2, but this still feels adequate right now, right? So there is a support and lockdown there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe, I don't know. I mean, it feels kind of light though. It doesn't feel super light, but it does feel pretty light. I'm guessing like 11. Yeah, 11.45 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.35 ounces. So that's actually pretty dang light. So let's compare it to the actual Kai 2. The Kai 2 is 12.05 ounces, so it's not that big of a difference, you know, around 0.5 ounces lighter for the Kai 2 speed. So I feel like with the speed, they should have made it a little bit lighter, you know, and also maybe use a little bit less rubber or cage. But it's still, again, it's still a lightweight shoe, but not super duper lightweight. Like, for example, the Zap 3, the Zap 3 was like 9 point something ounces, extremely lightweight, you know what I mean? And also compared to like the Jaw 2, the Jaw 2 was also extremely lightweight, 11.05 ounces. So that's actually compared to the Kai 1 speed. Oh, the Kai 1 speed was actually way heavier. It's 12.4 ounces. So I guess they did do a good job in making it way lighter than the Kai 1 speed. You know what I mean? They made it actually around an ounce lighter. But compared to the Kai 2, it's only like 0.5 ounces, you know? So yeah, again, it does feel a lot more minimal and also lighter weight than the Kai 1 speed, which I do like. It has great core feel. The upper is extremely thin and minimal, but still cozy and comfortable in the back of the shoe. So I really like what they did here in like how the shoe is made and how it feels on foot. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I really like it as well. You know what I mean? It's a very unique design. I like how they incorporated the Kyrie logo into the shoe as well. And some of the colorways that are coming out also look really nice. And also this colorway looks really good too. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this shoe is feeling really nice. And it's feeling like a really good guard shoe where if you want something very responsive, you know what I mean? Again, the Kai 2 is more for like, if you want more, it's still a responsive shoe, but if you want a little bit more cushion, it feels like, you know what I mean? But the Kai 2 speed is more for like, you still want something really responsive, but you want a lower to the ground feel, something stiffer for the cushion, you know, if that's what you like, you know what I mean? And there are a couple of things I am a little bit worried about, you know, like the fit. It's not the best for me here in the toe box, but it's not terrible. And then for the traction, hopefully it doesn't slide around too much. Hopefully it's not too dangerous and pick up too much dust. But other than that, this overall shoe is feeling like a really nice guard shoe, especially for that speed title that this shoe has, right? So anyways, that about concludes my first impressions look on the Anta Kai 2 speed. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave in the free link in the description box. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.